Time to have a chat with Steve Eagle, the founder of howtobuyaustralianmade.com.au. Steve, thank you so much for the chat.
Welcome, Jarrad, and it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
No, not a drama at all. The Australian-made logo, the green and gold kangaroo, that is just hugely, distinguished logo, both here in Australia but globally as well. You know, the Americans know what they're looking for. The Europeans know what they're looking for. The consumer research on it says that it's very popular as well.
Absolutely right. Yeah, it really is an Australian icon in many ways. And as you say, the international markets have been studied to completely understand, the prestige and quality that comes with that logo. This is really also studied at the consumer level as well. So New Horizon Consumer Science Research found that 97% of overseas consumers have a positive first impression of products that have the logo, and 85% of those consumers were confident that products carrying the Australian-made logo were genuinely Australian and of that higher quality that we talk about.
Demand in 2020 went up for Australian-made products. Any cause for that? Was it COVID-19? Was it just we slowly saw that increase over the last decade or so? Any reason?
It has been increasing slowly in terms of demand for the logo and demand for Australian quality products. You might even remember some years ago we had a story in the media about Chinese consumers flying to Australia, purchasing baby formula at the retail side, and then selling that back at home. So that sort of shows you the demand of that high quality, right? That people would consider doing something like that. In 2020, that's accelerated. So around the coronavirus pandemic and the questions that brought up around sustainable supply chain and who our trading partners are, and obviously the logistics problems that we've had this year, it's forced consumers to consider more deeply where is the country of origin of their goods. Now, the benefit of this is that Australians have identified Australian-made again, and internationally as well. And this is really driving a massive demand. It's increased over 100% year on year in terms of online retail, and offline we're also seeing exports now increase too.
There is a little bit of confusion around that Aussie-made logo, though, isn't there? As to, you see it on some goods, but is it 100% Australian-made when you see the green and gold kangaroo? Can you take us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're correct. The logo has diversified since 2017. So the law changed in 2017. You used to have to produce 50% of a product in Australia to be able to call it Australian-made or claim Australian-made. That sort of changed over time because what was realised was that some products are not made in Australia, and they do need some imported content to be able to complete the product. So in that way, there's now 6 categories of the logo, and they deal with that question. So the intent is to show the consumer at every level what percentage of their product is Australian. Now, we're of the view, or me personally, I'm of the view that 1% Australian made is better than no percent. So what we'd encourage shoppers to do is have a look closely at the logo, read the fine print, and really understand where that product is coming from. And if you're doing the job of buying Australian-made, more and more each week, then that should be a goal. Now, the impact that this can have is dramatic. If each household in Australia swapped $50 worth of their purchasing from being imported products to being Australian-made products, that $50 spend could inject $30 billion into the Australian economy over 12 months. So we can really have a positive impact in the economy recovery as well.
That's phenomenal, isn't it? That's just huge. There's $50.
Yeah, it's a small change we can all make, and it's just going to drive us forward. The small businesses and producers of these products in Australia, they already account for, $150 billion a year. It's all the mum and dad shops, it's the small manufacturers, and in 2020 it's been the online retailers doing really well. So Amazon businesses buying and selling Australian products, these kinds of things. So it really is at the grassroots level. It's in our hands as consumers of Australian goods. We can really make that change.
Do you prefer the percentage being listed on the product since 2017? Do you think that adds a bit more transparency to it?
Yeah, I think it does, and the transparency is always welcome. We'd love to know exactly where our products come from, and so we can make that quality assessment. What are we actually buying? And in that way, I think, having that transparency is a positive thing. It does mean that the consumer has to be a little bit more aware. You do need to know that that is a strategy that's being used by the Australian Made campaign and the government that supports it. But it really does provide a better quality of information to the consumer as well.
Steve Eagle, thank you so much for the chat today. Really fascinating stuff, and urge everyone out there to, of course, buy Australian Made. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jarrad. Let's have an Aussie-made Christmas. Take care.